Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you all for coming today. My name is Scott Taylor, and today is a very great day for Montgomery, for the downtown, and for the river region as a whole. And before we get to our announcements that we're all here to hear, I want to take just a moment and thank some very special people whom without their help today would not even be possible. First of all, I'd like to thank our mayor, Todd Strange, and his staff and his office for all of their leadership, support, guidance, and direction over the last several months to bring us to this day. Also, I'd like to thank the Montgomery Chamber of Commerce. Thank you all for your help. You've been tireless in your support, and we thank you so much. In addition to the Go Montgomery Corporation folks that have dedicated the last couple of years of their life to this seed that was a dream just a couple of years ago to today where it becomes that much closer to reality, thank you. And finally, but certainly not least, I want to thank the governor and her office for her help and her steadfastness with this process as well, and for the guidance and support of our senators, Richard Shelby and Luther Strange. Thank you both, gentlemen. Montgomery is rich in so many ways. Montgomery is rich in culture, rich in its history, rich in its natural beauty. But most of all, we are rich in the human spirit of those that live and visit this great city. And today, we announce the fruit of thousands of hours of behind-the-scenes effort from literally hundreds of public officials, private business owners, and volunteers from around the region and even from around the state. Today's announcement touches on several key areas that will enable our city, specifically our downtown, to continue its growth and revitalization for this and many more generations to come. Our downtown's been growing and transforming into a destination both for its residents and our visitors for the better part of 2 decades. You don't need to look any farther than the Riverwalk Stadium, the amphitheater, the alleyway, the Renaissance Hotel and Spa, Impact, the additions and renovations to the Crampton Bowl and Patterson Fields. All of these have provided benefits to the city by offering amazing entertainment, culinary options, as well as top-tier hotel and convention space. And today we announce 3 additions to expand those offerings while educating, honoring, and entertaining our city's guests and residents in ways that have never been possible in Montgomery. So, without further delay, it's my privilege and my honor to announce the Alabama Aquarium, the Montgomery IMAX Theater and Cinema, and the Alabama World War I Museum and Memorial. Now then, the Alabama World War I Museum and Memorial will be the first of its kind in Alabama, and it'll provide historical perspective of the Great War from the viewpoint of Alabama's contributions to the war effort, both here at home and the sacrifices of over 86,000 of our own men, more than 2,500 of which died on the fields of France. The museum will be built in downtown Montgomery, along historic Dexter Avenue. Its location will be at the corner of Dexter and Lawrence, nearby one of Montgomery's institution locations, Chris's Hot Dogs, which incidentally was opened in 1917, the same year that the United States entered the war to end all wars. Now, the museum will encompass the 52,000 square foot building and house over 600 exhibits and displays with over 2,400 artifacts and items from the era. Now, the purpose of the museum is multifaceted. However, it will memorialize those who served and were lost, and it'll also celebrate the contributions of all the Alabamians, and especially those here in the river region, to the war effort. And finally, it will educate It'll educate our school children and even our older than school children and adults to the contributions that were made by that generation of great Americans and great Alabamians. The museum and memorial will be dedicated and open to the public November 11th, 2018 at 11 o'clock in the morning, the 100th anniversary of the end of the war to end all wars. A little farther down, closer to the river, near the stadium where the baseball players play, the Alabama Aquarium and the Montgomery IMAX Theater and Cinema will be built jointly downtown in the area of Katoma, Montgomery, and Bibb Streets. This area will house a state-of-the-art, large-format IMAX theater, as well as 8 additional digital projection screens. They'll be offering, of course, your first-run theatrical movies from Hollywood. In addition to that, special offerings throughout the year. The Alabama Aquarium will be housed in 2 6-story buildings covering over 400,000 square feet. The aquarium will be built to accommodate between 10,000 and 12,000 animals, covering 800 species. Both saltwater and freshwater exhibits will be included, and the aquarium's mission is to educate and entertain. It'll educate and entertain visitors and residents alike. Upon opening, the aquarium will be certified with the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, which will put the Alabama Aquarium among the top 10% of all aquariums throughout America. Employing 200 full-time and between 150 and 300 part-time and seasonal employees. The aquarium will be managed by a nonprofit corporation. On the other hand, the Montgomery IMAX Theater and Cinema will be operated by a private cinema operator. The details of that relationship have yet to be finalized, and so I can't go into too much detail there. However, all the folks we've been talking to, they've told us that between 50 and 70 full-time and part-time positions will be specific to the cinema. In addition to showing first-run films designated to entertain our residents and visitors alike, the IMAX will focus a significant portion of its daytime showings to visitors, to educate our visitors from schools and the like. The Montgomery IMAX Theater and Cinema is scheduled to open November of 2018, with the aquarium opening December 1st of the same year. Now, before we take some questions, and I know you've maybe got a few, I wanted to add a few other areas, cover them so that you have a fuller picture of what's about to happen. Now, financing for these projects has been secured through 3 main sources. Most of the funding is coming through federal grant for revitalizing downtown Montgomery. The remaining 25 to 30% of the funds required for construction and startup have been acquired from corporate contributions and individual contributions made through the nonprofit Go Montgomery Corporation. Folks are always asking on projects of this magnitude, what can we expect the economic impact to be? The aquarium and theater projects, we are anticipating between $50 and $60 million in economic impact annually for the first decade, and growing to in excess of $80 to $100 million in years 11 through 25. The World War I Museum and Memorial, we're anticipating a $1 to $3 million economic impact annually, and that's going to be through the first decade, and then growing to between $5 and $7 million thereafter. Okay, so that's the big picture. Any questions? I know we've got several, but I'll take, yes, sir? Great question. Asking about the construction jobs and how many will be brought to Montgomery as a result of these projects. We anticipate for the aquarium and the theater project between 500 and 750 construction jobs. The museum, on the other hand, will employ between 35 and 70 construction workers, probably no more than 45 at a time as that project escalates, but between 35 and 70 total. Another question? Yes. Okay. What kind of employment is this going to bring? What kind of jobs are we talking about? A fair number of them will be entry level, minimum wage and thereabouts. However, with the aquarium alone, we're talking about 200 full-time positions, with over half of those being career-oriented jobs earning in excess of $50,000. And with the top few positions at the aquarium, we're looking at a six-figure income for those directors. The theater operators that we are in negotiations with estimate again between 35 and 50 full-time employees. Full-time and part-time employees. And we're looking at anything from minimum wage on up to our managers will be earning between $30,000 and $50,000, topping out around $75,000 annually. So we're talking about significant jobs, significant impact, both for the employees downtown and for the surrounding businesses. Next question. Great question. Parking. What kind of parking can we anticipate having access to? Well, for the museum, of course, there are already between 35 and 42 spots on the back side of the building itself that will house the museum and memorial. There's also between 150 and 200 parking spots around on the street sides for the museum. Now, for the aquarium and the theater, we're looking at a parking structure that will be built in conjunction that will hold up to 500 cars. And then bus parking for the students will be several blocks away but nearby so they can have access back to the aquarium. Great. Any other questions? Okay. That's a good one. Thank you very much. The question is, for those that didn't hear it, will the venues be operationally self-sufficient? The answer is yes. The museum will be operated as a not-for-profit through ticket sales, donations, and corporate sponsorship that's already been secured, and it will also maintain operations. That's already been done, and so we've got our first 10 years of operations, we believe, already kind of set aside. After that, we project the excess in revenues to maintain the facilities and enhance the exhibits. As for the museum, as for the aquarium and of course the theater, the cinema is going to be self-sufficient because it's run by a outside company. They're in charge of maintaining their profitability. But on the aquarium side, it's going to be operated with a not-for-profit corporation, and our projections are for substantial revenue and contribution surpluses beginning in year 2. Our current bankroll has money set aside for the year 1 operations that we believe will more than satisfy those needs. Great. Well, I appreciate your time today. It's an exciting time for Montgomery. Those 3 venues are going to be both world-class, top-notch, and will bring in the best and show off the best that Montgomery has to show. I thank you all for your time. Again, my name is Scott Taylor, and I'm looking forward to working with you.